LALOR. My name is Robert Ozzimo and I proudly represent the company of Harcourts, Rata and Co. Joined here today by my award-winning team in blue, the best in the north. Should you require their advice, please feel free to approach either Lou, Sebastian, of course Daniel Taylor, who no doubt you've had the great pleasure of meeting throughout the marketing campaign. Let me share with you now the following announcements which in place help you bid and buy with absolute confidence here today. The auction will be conducted in accordance with the rules and any additional conditions that are available for inspection before the start of the auction. The auction rules prohibit an auctioneer from accepting bids or offers for a property after the property has been knocked down to the successful bidder. The vendors have a reserve price as the auctioneer will indicate bidders on request. The law prohibits false bids, prohibits major disruptions by bidders, and prohibits bidders attempting to prevent others from bidding, and provides for fines for such conduct. The rules permit for vendor bids the words I'll use during the auction to indicate that I'm making a bid on behalf of the vendor are vendor bid, and by law only I, as the auctioneer, can make a vendor bid. The contract of sale has been on display prior to today's auction. We call for a 10% deposit upon the fall of the hammer and the signing of that contract to take place here today, with the balance to be paid at settlement in 30 to 60 days time, at which time the vendor will provide the lucky buyer with vacant possession of the property. All in all, it's quite a straightforward document. Everything's in there. Everything's quite clear. Buyers is with my highest recommendation what we offer for your consideration and competition here today. The perfect package for the first home buyer, the perfect package for the investor, and a great opportunity for you and your family to secure a great family home here in a central location where infrastructure is key. Infrastructure is what provides a great lifestyle, but more importantly, what provides security in the future by way of capital growth. So if you're here to get the sold sticker up on the board right now, buyers, is your time to reserve that right. Where can I see a fair and reasonable starting bid for 169 Kingsway? Who'd like to start us off? I don't mind the call. I'm in your hands, buyers. Start me where you like. This is your moment, your time. An opportunity for me to catch my breath. I know that we have a couple of interested parties here today. It's important to start from a position of strength. It does take a brave soul to raise their hands first at an auction, but it is an opportunity to show every other competitor that the home is yours, the keys belong to you. You've got that chance now, buyers. I don't mind the call. I'm in your hands. Where can I see you start? A few shy bidders among us here today, perhaps. I know you certainly haven't come out just to see me. You're here for the property. I would be flattered if that were the case, but I know it's not. You're here for the home, buyers. This is your chance to own it, your chance to start the proceedings. Where can I see a bid? I don't mind the call, buyers. In your hands. As I said, I've had my say. Time for you to have yours now. I'm going to make it nice and easy for you, buyers, with a vendor bid at 650,000. Couldn't be easier than that. It's bargain basement buying at that at 650. At 650,000 now. With me at 650 the bid. At 650 if you've come to buy, this is the opportunity you've been waiting for. At 650,000 for the first call. At 650 are we done? At 650,000 second call. At 650,000 are we done? Finished. I won't take 5. I was hoping for 25 in the rise. At 650,000, I'm happy to negotiate with you, sir, and say 10 in the rise. At 10, at 660,000, welcome and best of luck now. At 660 the bid. At 660,000, there's the bid, there's the competition, the opportunities with every other buyer here today. At 660 now, it's a great buying at that. At 660,000. At 660,000, fairly been offered there in the centre at 660. At 660,000 now once. At 660 we done. At $660,000 a bid for the second call. At 660,000 are we done? Finished. At 660,000, third and final call. At 660,000, all done, all finished, all silent. At 70 now, welcome, best of luck at 70 now. At 670,000, fresh competition, and 80 now got. At 680,000. At 680,000, 90 if you like, 700's better at 680 the bid's there. At 680,000. At 680 the bid, 90 the call. At 680,000 now, once at 680,000 done. At 680,000 and 90. At 90 now, at 690, round me off to 7 if you like, might be first to 7. At 690,000. At 690,000 the bid's at 690 the bid. At 690,000, fairly been offered now, 690 the bid. Once at 690,000, all done. At $690,000 a bid. Second call at 690. At 705. at 705 and a great bid at that at 705 the bid. At 705,000, at 710 I'll shorten my stride and get you involved for 5 in the same courtesy at 5 if you like. At 710,000 the bid's at 710 and 15 got. At 715, at 715 the bid. At 715,000 fairly been offered, bid there 715 opportunity here. At 715,000, at 715 the bid once at 715 all done. At 715,000 second call at 715 the bid. At 20 now, $720,000 now the bid. At 720 the bid. At 720,000 bid there now, my right, your left, opportunity with you at 20 I have. At 720,000. At 720 the bid now once. At 720 done. Twice. At 30 and a great bid at that at $730,000. At 730, at 730,000, not on the head by Daniel means that we are on the market. We do sell here today. At 730, the bid's here, the keys are here. We're on the market. We sell at 730,000. Make absolutely no mistake about it. If there's no further bidding, the keys will remain there. We're on the market and we play for keeps. If you've come to bid, you must bid me now. At 735, at 735, that had those keys for a moment, wasn't to be maybe at 40. At 735, the bid's there and the keys are there. At 735, the bid. At 735, at 735, now bids there, keys there, play for keeps now. At 735,000 and we sell here today. If you're waiting for me to go inside and seek instructions, I'm not doing that here today. My instructions have been sought and given. They are to sell at 735. The bid's there at 735 and the opportunity with you now. At 735,000. First call at 735. Done. At 40 now and welcome back at 40. At 740,000 got the keys at 40. At 740,000 fairly been offered. At 740 the bid. At 740,000 bid there, keys there. Opportunity here won't be for long because we sell at 42. At 742,000. At 742 the bid. Small bid there, best response to big one, sir, ma'am, at 742,000, fairly been offered. We're selling here today at 742,000. First call at 742, all done. At 45. At 745, was that right? 745. At 745. At 745 the bid. At 745,000, bids back there now, keys back there now. We are on the market. We sell at 747. At 747,000, it's taking off like a jet. 747. At 747 and the bid's there. At 747,000, 50 got. At 750 now. At 7.5. 750 the bid. At 750 the bid. Bid there, keys there. We're selling at 750,000. If you're out, I'll sell over there at 750,000 once. At 750 done. At 755, at 755 now the bid. At 755,000, at 755 the bid's there. How about 60 now? At 755,000. At 755,000 we're on the market selling. We've got to work it out. You can't live together at 755. At 755,000 fairly been offered and the bid's there. At 755,000 we sell away here today. At 755 the bid. First call at 755. Done. Second call. 755 the bid. Done. Finished. Third. Final call. $755,000 the bid. All done. All finished. All silent out at 755. At 756 now, 756. At 756,000, give me a big bid in response. At 757 now, at 757,000. At 757,000, bid back there, got him down to one, sir. At 757,000, calls for optimism, push on, respond with a big bid. At 757 the bid. Was that a bid, ma'am? No, at 757,000. At 757,000, bid still there, key still there, 757. Opportunity still here with you. At 757,000, we sell away, no better bid at 757 the bid. At 757,000 once, at 757 all done. Second call at 750, at 760 and a better bid, at 760 the bid, at 760,000, at 760,000, keys transferred over there for the time being. You can grab them back with a bid, at 760 the bid now, at 760,000, need to know, be decisive, dig deep if you want to buy it, 60 I have. At 61.5, at 761.5, at 761,500, at 761.5, and the bid's here now at 761,500 against your bid. We do play for keeps. We are on the market. We do sell here today. 761,500 bid here, keys here. We sell once at 761.5. Done. Twice at 761,500. Done. Finished. Third. Final call at 761,500 all done, all finished, all silent out at 761.5. Do I have your absolute best here today? You're definitely done. Thank you so much for being here today. 761,500. Bids here, keys here, we sell. First call at 761.5. All done. Second call, 761,500. All done, all finished. For the third and final call at 761,500. All done, all finished, all silent and out. We are selling, selling, selling. Sold. Congratulations and well bid. Please join me congratulating our purchasers and our vendors here today. You've just witnessed another successful Harcourts, Rata & Co auction. Have a great weekend. We'll see you again soon. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.